All right, folks, let's go and take a look here at FIO. And just before we do, we look at Bitcoin, get a quick understanding of the market so we know what's going on, because any good trader has to know what Bitcoin's doing first. Okay, that's my firm belief, and it's served me very well over the years. I have a very high success rate in trading based on that sentiment alone. So make sure you check it out. We'll do that here today. And if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just have years of trading experience, my goal is to help you become more of an effective trader. So be sure to check out my Patreon account if you're interested in considering getting signals that I send to all of my community members. Every single trade that I take, I share that. We have a really awesome collaboration and really cool group of folks. That's all I can say. Thank you so much to my patrons. In fact, one of my patrons requests that I cover this here today. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's take a look at Bitcoin first. On the one-day chart, we broke 56,000 here today. In fact, the candlestick hasn't closed yet. We've got about an hour left of trading data, but I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see it close above 56,000, so that should be the new support level moving forward. Also bear in mind, we have a secondary support at 53,800, and prior to that, 52,600. Those seem like a thing of the past, but don't get too ahead of yourself because we could very well see a correction. Usually when we see such a strong green day like this, especially on a Monday, it can be followed by a day of consolidation on a Tuesday. That does happen sometimes. That's why I was apprehensive about taking a position earlier today. Obviously that didn't happen. It just went the exact opposite, but you can commonly expect Mondays in a bull market to be consolidation days. Regardless, Bitcoin's in very good shape. We're up above both moving averages. Take a look at FIO, FIFO. I don't know what you want to call it. Just FIO is the acronym here for now. Let's go ahead and work with big picture first, and we'll go ahead and take a look at other things. So look at the one-day chart. We can obviously see it did very, very well. It was ramping up back in April, just before the major Bitcoin sell-off on 17th/18th there. You can see it hit its all-time high, it looks like, at about 57 cents. Okay. So 57 cents is the all-time high. We'll just go ahead and touch that here, put that on there, just in case we see something come up, but I don't think it's going to get there anytime soon based on the fact that it does tend to get kind of hammered. And what's interesting too, in the way that it ramps up here, and it has a tendency of doing this, it'll have just random breakouts followed by periods of consolidation and or retracement. So they're not just like, increase, consolidate, increase, consolidate. They're typically increase, retrace 50%, and then consolidate. So, you want to kind of bear in mind and kind of understand that this is a pretty common characteristic of a coin like this. Up, over, up, down. Up, down, down. I mean, you can kind of see this little wave peak pattern. So yeah, that's just something to remember because it's doing that still even to this day. So that tells me that there's probably some type of, I wouldn't say manipulation, I hate to use that term loosely, but it's very common when you have whales or something other than us controlling it, because we're not the ones driving the price up that high and that low in one day. We're typically the ones buying low and selling high, but we like to wait a lot longer than the bulls or the whales do, because we're more traditionally trained to hold for longer periods, not just buy and sell in the same day, right? Anyways, that being said, you got to remember that and kind of respect that and understand that's what this coin has to offer, right? So what you want to do, in other words, to circumvent that is to essentially set realistic stop targets, or more important, profit targets that, when you see those spikes, because I mean, look at this here, for example, the most recent spike, that was a 30% increase in one day, right? It went up and down 30% the exact same day. So, that is concerning to me, but it can also be beneficial. It reminds me of like penny stocks or, pink sheets, so to speak. If you've ever traded outside of crypto, there are things referred to as penny stocks, and they have such volatility but super low volume, and it causes difficulty in navigating or being able to anticipate what's going to happen next, right? So sometimes charting can be a little flawed. Regardless, I just want to kind of point that out. We're below both moving averages too, so those are both working as resistance levels. We are back under 50 on the RSI, and if you don't know this already, 50 on the RSI is a pretty strong resistance or support level. So when it breaks below and stays below, it'll probably hold below. We do also have a divergence as well on the MACD here. So if we look at this, hold on, there we go. If we look at the MACD convergence, you can see that happened back on the 1st. So now we're starting to have that reverse momentum, right? It's starting to come back. The bearish sentiment is coming. So when you see this as well, it basically means the bulls are losing control, and it'll eventually do one of these where we're going to start seeing bearish divergence, right? Where the price is going to keep pushing itself down. So it's not guaranteed, don't get wrong, but it's hitting that moment, that flow, so to speak, and that might continue for another few days. Looking at the 4-hour chart as well, we can see that the price is now below both moving averages. And there was a pretty big spike here as well. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that's pretty big. Look at that. That's what? Yeah, 27, almost 28% in just a small 4-hour period. So again, there's somebody driving the price up and driving it back down, and we know it's not us, right? So just be aware of the fact that that could happen. But just say, for example, you had a position that you got in somewhere around 15, 16 cents, and you had a stop target, right? Or basically a limit sell order right here at about 223, or sorry, 23 cents rather. You would have gotten filled likely and walked away with some profit, and then you could have just averaged your position down, right? So again, always use targets, profit targets. And keeping this in mind too, a lot of exchanges don't really allow you to set more than one target. So I recommend trading bots for something like that. I have that built into my trading community where when I send out signals, I always send out 3 trading targets. I usually go with like a 70% on the first target, 15-50 on the next 2. But the bottom line is that it'll automatically fill once I get to that point when I don't have to do anything at all. I don't have to pay attention to when we have some crazy little manipulation in the market and I miss my profit target. Right? There's nothing worse than that. So just keep that in mind. Set some realistic targets here, somewhere in, every 5 cents, so to speak, and then you can get filled and just walk away with some extra change. So it's a cool concept. So consider trading bots. 3Com is really awesome, and I'm really getting used to Cornix as well. We use Cornix in our trading community, so really recommend maybe checking that out. I think you might like it. Well worth the investment, and most of them are actually free. So just keep that in mind. All right, anyways, so that's kind of what we're looking at there for the 4-hour. Let's take a look at the 1 hour and see what TD Sequential is telling us. Whole lot of nothing, really. Not much to note when we're in a state of consolidation. But what we might see here is the Ishimoku cloud will probably below it. Yes, we are. And this is another thing, too, that gets funky when you have these sharp spikes like this, right? However, that aside, the concept still applies. When the price is above the cloud, consider a buy signal. When it's below the cloud, it's considered a sell signal. We're below the cloud right now, and it's not giving us any kind of indication that we want to buy right now. Okay, so what we do is we wait for the price to continue back up and to be above. So for example, here's a good example of what price above the cloud would look like. When the price breaks above the cloud, it's considered typically a buy signal. You can usually find a 4-hour MACD convergence concurrent with the Ishimoku cloud, and that would kind of signal that buy signal as well, right? So those are good swing trade signals, but always pay attention to that. And if you are new to just say the channel or just Ishimoku cloud in general, just enable it, search for Ishimoku cloud, and then disable the first 5 lines because it gives you a lot of extra stuff that you don't necessarily need. Not to say it's not beneficial, but if you don't understand it, don't worry about it. Just use the actual, the plot background, I believe it's referred to as. Yeah, the plot's background, and that will give you the cloud. And it's really helpful to just kind of give you that little extra, confidence knowing you're making a good decision when the price is above the cloud. Granted, it doesn't always work. It's not 100% foolproof. You got to look at other factors as well, but it definitely swings things in your favor. But right now, price is below the cloud, so honestly, there's no buy signal there. The fact we have the RSI on the I believe, was it the 1 day chart rather? I think it was a 1 day. Yeah, we're under 50 on the RSI on the 1 day chart, basically getting rejected by the 50. And of course, we have a bearish divergence, not a convergence on the MACD. So there is literally no good sign of buy signals right now, except for the simple fact that, well, it's pretty low, all things considered. So we look at the big picture in price. There's no doubt that it'll probably go much higher than this, right? I think the eventuality, if we see Bitcoin continue to progress, a coin like this will likely 2x, right? We should probably see by year end, 30, 40 cents. In fact, it almost hit that recently in September, 1 month ago. So just keep that in mind. This coin does have definite potential. But in order to get where you want to go, I recommend, waiting just a little bit longer. Price is, on the downside, the downswing. Once it hits this support down here, and by the way, I forgot to add that, we have a support level here, right at about 15 cents. So hypothetically, the price continues to progress down closer to 15. That would be a good consideration for an entry point. Just try to wait for the price to become, above the cloud and to obviously have, somewhat of a bullish convergence on the MACD instead of bearish. And if possible, again, it's not guaranteed, but if we can break above 50 on the RSI on the 1 day chart, we'll be looking a lot better. Okay. So if you found benefit here today, please like and subscribe. Consider joining my Patreon account. Thank you so much for your time here, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.